So many brands are wasting ad spend on outdated strategies like auto campaigns or basic ones like just using PPC with sponsored products. And in turn, they're not seeing growth in their sales. My name is Jasim. I'm the CEO and founder of Voadera, $100 million Amazon e-commerce marketplace. We're actually on pace to spend $2.3 million over the next 12 months. Now, getting into the 10 tips, the first one is improving your PDP. And there's two parts to this. The first one is making sure it's neat, organized, all the basics are there. This video isn't about the basics, but you have to make sure that I'm not going to dive deep into the basics basically, but you have to make sure that they're still there. The 6 images, the video, the premium A plus content, all that kind of stuff. The main image is where you spend the bulk of your time, obviously, your title, the bullet points, even although less important. You want to make sure that all that is there. It reflects what your customer avatar wants. But the more important part to the PDP is that it's aligned with your PPC keywords that you're targeting. So there's certain keyword groups that you're going to go after. So one example is this mug right here, right? If I wanted to rank in office mugs rather than maybe workout mugs, right? I'm going to make the PPC around an office. The third image is going to be someone sitting in an office. The bullet points are going to convey that. I'm going to add the title is going to have a UVP, unique value proposition for an office. Let's just say, I'm thinking off the top of my head, but let's just say keeps it warm for a long time, assuming they're going to drink coffee in the morning, right? Now, on the other hand, if I wanted to use this mug for a workout or let's say the gym, I would add different pictures. I would add pictures for the gym. It depends on what targeting words I'm using. For the gym, I know they're going to use it for vitamin protein shakes, right? So I'm going to add that it mixes things really well, or it's very it contains whatever nutrients. Well, you get the point. So you want to make sure that your content, which is SEO and creative, aligns with the keywords that you're targeting. And this is before turning on PPC, because otherwise you're going to spend money. The second thing, the second tip, you actually should also do this before turning on PPC, is ensuring your in-stock availability rate. The basics of this is making sure that your FBA converts 14% higher than MF. But the second layer to this, again, as I mentioned, we want to get into the deep stuff in this video, is making sure that your items are same day or 1 day delivery to all 48 major states. There's tools, we have proprietary tools in house that we check this for our partners to make sure we're averaging 98.7% in stock rate. But even on your end, you can go to, I think, Smart Scout or Helium 10. I'm not affiliated with them at all, or not getting anything from this, but they have a Smart Scout has a cool tool that's called the heat map. So you can check the availability region, how long it's going to take to arrive for certain states and certain zip codes. And that's what we make sure before we turn on PPC. We make sure that our inventory is distributed across all warehouses, that is going to arrive to at least 98% or 95% of the population in the US within a day. Because if a customer lands on us and it sees 2 days and they see the competitor's same day, they could go to them for that reason. So when we're paying for PPC, we want to make sure it converts. We want to make sure that we have that in stock rate, not only in stock at a basic level, but even in stock very quickly. The third point is separating data and making sure you're looking at things at a keyword level. The highest level of this is making sure that your branded and non-branded targets are separated a lot. I have a very good story of this. We had a brand that was doing really well on TikTok. They did influencer campaigns, and it was like in the consumables category. So they had a viral product, right? And they put the ads on Amazon. They used an agency, and they're like, look, our ACOS is 5%. It's unbelievable. And our tacos is like 1%. We're doing great. So I noticed that when we took a look at their brand, and they're a friend of ours, and we wanted to see, basically, they weren't impressed. They said their ad efficiency was great, but they weren't impressed with their growth. And what we looked at is basically all of their conversions that they were getting for PPC was on their brand name, basically. People would see a video on TikTok. They don't want to order on TikTok Shop. They want the fast delivery. It would spill over. That's what spillover is known as, right? It would spill over into Amazon. And from Amazon, they'd buy it from there, searching their brand name. That is unrealistic ad expectations, because yes, your branded search is going to be very high conversion rate because the customer already knows what you want, but you're not eating up other market share. You're not competing with your competitors to grab their market share on Amazon. And in turn, when we worked with them, yes, their ACOS went up to 20%, but their sales grew almost 40% year over year on Amazon when they were fairly stagnant and they were going their TikTok Shop sales. And they didn't have to. The influencer campaign basically worked really well with their Amazon PPC and Amazon advertising. But the mega point here is that you have to see what's doing well, what's not doing well, which keywords are performing the best. You're not relying as much as on auto campaigns, for example. Get into that a little bit later, but you're having exact keywords that you're targeting. You know which keywords are performing best, which ones aren't performing good, because then, okay, for example, if this one, I have a workout one, and that one's not working good, and then I look at my content, it doesn't have anything to reflect workout or gym, then I know why. So I add that to reflect in the content. So the more granular you are with data, the more you can gather further insights, and the more you can spend on certain keywords, right? So you want to make sure that you're as granular as possible. Once you get granular in data, that's when you can start day parting. And day parting is basically when you have your ads turned on for certain parts of the day, or certain parts of the week even, and turned off for certain parts. So certain hours they're on throughout the week and certain hours they're off, basically. And this is relevant depending on your product. So for example, let's say you have a product that people use on weekends. Let's say it's for parties or hiking or picnics, family picnics on the weekend, right? You know that your conversion rate is going to be very high Thursday night, right? Or Friday, because people want it the next day. They're prepping for their trip for the weekend, right? So you want to make sure that other times of the week, maybe it's less important. Or if it's a family oriented type product, let's say it's for parents, you want to turn it off usually between 1 to 6 a.m. because then there's not people are just browsing, but they're not serious. Your customer avatar isn't seriously considering buying it. And that's when separating the data, you can see when conversion rate is the highest and you make sure that your budget is available then, and when it's the lowest and you turn off your campaigns at a time. There's a lot of tools that automate this for you, but this is a quick win that could improve your ad efficiency. For us, seriously saved us around, and our partners, it saved them like maybe 20 grand a year that we used. Not only did we save that money, but we used it just for one of the brands that we work with, that we used that in other exact match campaigns that grew their sales by 100 grand almost year over year. Because for their case, it was a very niche type of product. It was a basically medical equipment type product that they would use around what that literally night shift doctors would buy from 1 to 6 a.m. And we noticed that a lot of the earlier spend was going to patients that were just checking what it is and they weren't buying it, but the doctors and the overnight shift that were actually working were buying it. So we turned off PPC during the afternoon when people were just browsing, and we made sure it was on during the overnight shift for the doctors to be able to we get that market share. So that's because the only reason we saw that is because we got granular with data. The fifth point is also related to granular data, is campaign parting. So we mentioned day parting for the campaign itself, but now certain campaigns, like if we're separating the campaigns, like I said, auto campaigns, you don't want one auto campaign. We want auto loose, auto close, auto match. We want to see which one's doing best and worst, and we might turn off the loose, for example, because it's getting us a 40% A cost, and the match is very efficient. We're instead reallocating the budget towards that. So you're looking at your campaigns, the same thing with keywords. If the gem one is not doing well, we turn it off, we put that money into the office, we get more market share there until we allocate the gym, and then we turn it back on again, right? So you're not only day parting and hourly parting, right? But you're also campaign parting as well. The sixth point, and you probably already have an idea of this one by now, is to choose your targets very carefully. You don't want to rely on auto campaigns. Those are very good for harvesting keywords. So for what harvesting is basically they find keywords that you're unaware of. They continuously test the market to see new trends, to see stuff, and you see they kind of funnel in new keywords that are really interesting that you wouldn't have thought of. But then you want to graduate those keywords to phrase, broad, match, exact match, to spend more on them if they're doing really well. So you want ideally 10 to 20% of your budget to only go to stuff that's experimenting, testing, auto campaigns. That's what we like to do as a rule of thumb. And the rest, we're allocating specifically to target match. We're allocating specifically to type of stuff that we're keyword groups that we're targeting based on SQP data, search query performance, that our conversion rate is higher. We want to organically rank for them using low bid harvesting campaigns. So this is basically when you're running all your campaigns and you put similar campaigns, you duplicate them, but only putting the CPC at like 2 cents or 3 cents. And this helps catch like bottom of the barrel, very low competitive, that basically all the competitors, they run out of beds. We had a home and beauty supply, a beauty supply product that it was a new trend. So the competition was very weak. At the top was very high, so they had the competitive bids were like $4 or $5 a CPC, but the budget for all the competitors were like $100, $150, right? So everyone's budget would run out, and then at the end of the day, we'd have the same campaign, exactly copy pasted, and with a very high budget. But the difference was the CPC was like 2 or 3 cents, and this was catching like end of the day when everyone's budget ran out. It was catching some stuff there. Randomly, Amazon would place it, and it was winning really well for a couple months. But then obviously the niche became more mature. People caught on. Didn't become as relevant. But this could be very good for even not only a new niche or new trend, but a new trend. So where it's like still a new keyword is being searched, people don't know about it. It's not, the CPC is competitive, but the budget is strained for the competitors. You can get that at the lower and cheaper amount. Only use downbidding. This is something that is perhaps a little bit controversial, but I know that some people say fixed or up and down. We ran a lot of testing. There are some very rare use cases, but for us, we're only using downbidding like 97, 98% of the time for our ad spend. And we found that Amazon, obviously, like I said, they're very profitable Amazon ads. They want to get you up as much as they can. But the truth is that their main priority is to make revenue for Amazon. So you want to make sure that you're aligned, that you're spending your dollar as much as you can. So you want to use downbidding, and Amazon is actually pretty good at getting you cheaper clicks at times when relevant. Using various Amazon advertising methods. This is becoming more and more relevant. Amazon is becoming much more generous with data to us, and this is something great. They released brand analytics, search query performance. The latest one was AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud. And it's unbelievably crucial how, yes, when these programs are first launched, they were inefficient, similar to maybe how Walmart ads are now. It's inefficient because it didn't mature enough. But as they become more and more mature, like DSP, for example, is becoming much more efficient, right? And we're piloting it with a lot of brands and looking into it basically. The idea is that even within the AMS console, so the campaign manager, Amazon Marketing Services, that's the four famous ones: a sponsored product, brand, headline, video. Even within those, unfortunately, I'm seeing too many people only dedicate 90%, 95% only to sponsored product. Yes, that's great, but we've been having a lot of great success with sponsored video, for example, and it comes and goes based on competition. Each one is becoming stronger and worse. But even sponsored display for retargeting. The issue with sponsored product is it's very efficient, but that's also the downfall of it, is that you're only digging at the bottom of the well. So you're always clearing out bottom of the funnel customers. You're not bringing anyone new into your brand and understanding what you're selling, what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. And you're not filling in what's known as a pipeline. You're kind of the customers. There's top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Sponsored product is very bottom of funnel. So yes, it's very efficient, but sometimes you can't spend everything there. And if you're a very aggressive growing brand, you're not going to be able to efficiently allocate your budget there. You should look into spending it to at least the other three, but then obviously DSP as you get into it. And not even mention off Amazon ads, where, for example, influencers are very efficient, or bringing in revenue from TikTok. Amazon rewards the algorithm very heavily with that. And using other consoles, other ad methods, getting creative with it. But obviously, this is only after you set up the basics. Don't get into DSP display without having basically your sponsored product set up. Knowing your numbers so you can know how much you can afford to bid. This is becoming more important than ever. Amazon advertising is becoming more competitive. You have to understand your unit economics, and you have to understand, more importantly, your LTV and your AOV. I made a very important video about AOV. I think it's a coupon strategy. I'll link it at the end of this video. But the idea is that you don't expect, especially for repeat purchase products, don't expect to be profitable on the first sale. You're going to sell the first one. You might not make any money on that, because right now for supplements, you can see CPCs as high as $7, $8. But ideally, you're not selling a crap product. It's good. They're going to come back and buy it. You lose money in the first 2 or 3 sales, and then you're getting a customer for life. Same thing with AOV. Yes, they might not buy that one product, but you're selling a multi-pack. So you have buy 3, get 5% off or whatever. It's a business use product, so you're able to afford a higher CPC, and you're able to therefore be competitive, and you're able to therefore allocate a necessary budget to win market share and to enter that market very strongly. Now for the bonus, it's actually within AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud. You can run audiences, but a very cool audience that we found is an audience that is basically only buys when you run promotions. And the reason is that you don't want to cannibalize your sales. When running promotions on certain products, is to run it on that product and target the customers that only buy with a promotion rather than cannibalizing current sales. We run it on a non-event day, so there's nothing major going on. And we target them and we make sure we get the spend from them in the budget and sales, and then we turn it off. And then we run, and there's many other audiences you can create, but this is just one very practical use case we ran with one of our partner brands that they're selling. They have low margins, so they can't always afford, and we want to make sure that we're optimizing their ad spend, as we try to do with everyone, obviously. And they're selling like kind of camera widget products, so it's like accessories around it. So it's a commoditized product, and the customers want to feel that they have a deal. So this is what we're running in that case. Amazon ads is still one of the cheapest and most efficient ways to get sales. It's unbelievably cheaper. It's very good targeted compared to other platforms which we tested out. You just have to make sure you're very efficient with it. You're very targeted. There's a lot of information there, and you have to make sure that your advertising budget is going as far as possible. Amazon's, again, incentive is to make as much money as possible. Your goal is to promote your brand. So you have to make sure you're using that resource to promote your brand, whether it's to rank or to profit. You just have that objective in mind as you're doing this. If you found this video helpful, check out our video on SEO to complement your PPC. And also, we have a coupon strategy video that could be helpful. And if you're over $1 million in sales, come check us out at Voadera.com. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications to continue getting these videos.